Good evening, November Foxtrot.
Through people that we're early.
Yes, it is.
Like we're a whole 2 minutes early.
Yeah. We're trying something new.
Yeah.
Good timekeeping.
Yeah.
Daniel said it was always my favourite 2001 podcast, and now it's always on time.
Yeah.
Good evening, APO David Fraser. Congratulations.
Yes.
He's become, I don't know what is the British one's that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Hello.
Well, on the other hand, I guess. I don't know. I need David to tell me. Hi, Call Sign Samurai. Hi, Andrew Taylor. Hi, Pegasus. Something that's going to confuse people this evening. We were originally going to be doing NoFo 221, Hide, Peek and Repeat, an Airsoft MilSim Recce survival guide. However, as of the last 5 minutes, we've had a slight change of scheduling due to Lance being at parents' evening.
Yes.
Now, Lance was going to be heading up the part one of the Hide, Peek and Repeat.
Because neither of us do it.
Well, we do. I mean, we have done Woodland Recce, but
yeah, not.
No, we have done it.
I would
maybe not hugely, but we have done it. But I'm in no way prepped to talk about Urban Recce, which is the bits that we were going to be talking about in a follow-up episode. I was only prepped to do Woodland Recce. I'm in no way prepped to do a Q&A because we had some questions that we've kind of stacked up that I haven't got the answers to yet that I was planning to for, I think it's next week that we're planning to do that.
Quite good ones, haven't we?
Yeah. So what we're doing tonight is, and I will completely admit, completely off the fly as an idea, ChatGPT came to our aid and came up with an assistant on that. And we're going to be doing This or That. So if you're on YouTube, I believe it has have the right title on it, which is This or That Airsoft MilSim Edition. If you're on Facebook, I apologise, it won't allow me to change that 5 minutes before the show. So yeah, This or That edition tonight. Yeah. Hi Abby, welcome. Hi Andrew Taylor.
Hello.
Pegasus. I think I said those already. Yeah. So Andy, how are you? Firstly, let's do a few little introductions as to how we're getting on.
Yes, all good.
What's the latest?
We did a charity shooting range for veterans, like a Veterans Day sort of parade, sort of festival thing over at Huntingdon Park, and we managed to raise something like £420 for the shooting range. So all of that's going to charity, from what I understand. So yeah, that was a good laugh. Me and Ash did that. We sat there and I think it was £5 and you got to shoot 2 weapons of whatever you wanted. So we had the PKM, Ash's 416, my AK, Thompson MP40, Lee Enfield.
I mean, you were in your element as an airsofter in that you've just gone, here's my airsoft guns, and I just like people like cooling over them.
Yeah, and also as well, I did a load of work on the AK. So it all needed to be bedded in. So I was like, what better way to do it? I was like, I don't have to do nothing.
Whole load of ice cream covered hands touching them.
Oh, it was cleaned afterwards. And so was I. I was like, but no, it was really good. Got some people very interested in the hobby as well. So hopefully see them at Blackstone. A few of them got given some NoFo cards, so maybe they might be listening or watching at some point. So welcome to the hobby. Other than that,
don't use us as an example.
Yeah. I was very professional, I think you find.
Oh no, we can be professional, but we're not professional on this podcast.
Yeah, not on here.
No. We're professional in our day-to-day jobs.
Yes. And my stuff for Ash mentioned it on your last.
Well, Ash came up with a really good idea. He came up with a really good idea of a magnetic clip. Yeah, it's a cracking idea of Ash's.
It wasn't a magnetic clip; it was one of the retractable ones.
Oh, the retractable, of course. Yes, sorry, the retractable ones.
Mine hasn't arrived yet, which is really annoying. I found a really cool camo one as well, so give it a go, see if it works.
Yeah, I can guarantee you at some point you'll be drinking as you're walking along. A tree will catch it, it will snag around your head, and we'll have to somehow extract you from your retractable drinking tube.
Yeah. Guys, Andrew's hanging from a tree.
Yeah. Who's got scissors?
Yeah.
South Hearts Airsoft has jumped in. Hello. Have you seen the new MilSim site in Rickmansworth? Tactical Delta Airsoft. I hadn't until you mentioned it. There's some cracking looking photos on there. So it'll be something that we will have a look into, certainly. It's the other side of London. I think that's right next to your neck of the woods, Andy.
Like literally around the corner.
Yeah. We'll have to send our man in the field down to go and have a look.
That isn't allowed out in the field.
Yeah, thanks South Hearts Airsoft for showing us that. We'll look into that one. Daniel Guest, are you attending?
Shout out to South Hearts Airsoft. I know that they're doing, or they were doing, some work on their site. So looking forward to popping down once that's all done. That should be a good little crack.
I do need to get out and do some more skirmish days. I'm coming to, so I think I mentioned this before, and that I'm having a baby in November. Not me physically having the baby, but we're having a baby in November. I have been manically trying to identify some weekend events, but there aren't a lot of weekend events between now and then. And the one or two that have been on have been not
your cup of tea.
Some of them are weekend events, but they're not, in my way, my understanding, like a weekend MilSim. That makes sense, which is what I'm ideally looking for. I used the NoFo MilSim thing to try and find some. I went through all the websites and things like that. Couldn't identify any. All the events seem to be very, very close to November, start of November, which is when I'm going to be in proper crunch time. Yes, and that is very similar to the Octo one. So the Octo one that is coming up is the start of, I think it's either the start of November or the end of October.
Oh, I don't know.
Which is going to be a challenge, basically. So I can't commit at the moment, but I would like to, basically. So I might need to just fit some skirmish days in. I've got the JBG Woodland training event, which is partly what this evening's episode was going to be about, on the start of August, which I'm looking forward to. But other than that, I know you're pressing at the moment, aren't you, Andy, to try and get some more sort of skirmish days?
Yeah, I just need to get back out and get my fitness back up, because obviously after I know it's 2 years ago now, but I put on a lot of weight, lost a lot of my upper body strength. Breathing was quite difficult and still can be sometimes. So still just trying to get my fitness level back up. And I personally don't feel that I'm ready for sort of a full-on MilSim event at the moment, because I don't want to go along and then have to sit out or be a burden to the team or the section that I'm in. So at the moment, it's more concentrating on getting my weight down and getting my breathing back to normal. So I've got physio and stuff for that. But yeah, so I think getting into like a few skirmishes is quite good, because I can always sit out of that. If I start getting tired running around, I can just kind of back myself off and just go and sit in the car park for a bit. Whereas at a MilSim, you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit if you spend all that money for a weekend event.
Well, it could be on stag.
What, constantly?
I'll just do stag for the weekend, guys.
Yeah.
But there is no stag this weekend, Andy. No, there is now.
Yeah. But no, that's my plan at the moment. Just get myself a little bit more fit. I'll get a few skirmishes in, get myself back to doing it. It's only really been like the start of this year that I've been able to start playing a little bit more. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to get a couple more in.
Mark Back says Octo, start of November. I'm not sure you Southerners would cope with northern weather. It's all hot at the moment, mate. It's just hot, hot, hot.
It wasn't today.
It was muggy today.
It was shit today. Rain.
Oh, it's been really muggy here.
Horrible. I know, I was there.
Oh, of course you were. I went for a run at lunch in that weather. Yeah.
You should have come up and said hi.
I was going to, wasn't I? But I went for a run. I forgot.
Come up tomorrow.
Oh, no, that's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, come up tomorrow.
Yeah. Cool time blackouts at the August event.
Lovely.
That'd be good. Looking forward to that. So, right, let's talk about this or that.
Just quickly.
Yes.
I like this. I don't know if I'm pointing it on the right
no,
side.
Other side.
I like this.
I know. Really I saw you turn it on.
I turned it on. I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And now everyone can see the.
Sorry,
no, I turned it off.
I know I did by accident. I'm trying to make it bigger. It's tiny. I don't know why it's so small. It is back on. It is there.
Because now I can see people's comments and have you full screen in front of me as well, which is lovely. Big old Mike.
Hi, Tony. Welcome.
Hello, Tony.
Right, so we're doing a this or that tonight. So let's start off with plate carrier or chest rig. So this is let's treat this as kind of a room 101 type scenario. So for those that aren't British, I don't think there's an equivalent in other countries. No, maybe there is. Room 101 is the idea of basically taking stuff and going, right, we're going to banish one to, get rid of it completely. So we're going to treat this as we get to pick one of these two things going forward.
What, forever?
Forever. Oh. So plate carriers or chest rigs, what are we keeping and why?
That's a tough one. I didn't realise it was forever.
Yeah, in airsoft, we're obviously not talking because I feel like the army might need plate carriers and the police, and
I would say
you can only have one going forward.
I would.
You keep a plate carrier.
Chest rig. I would say chest rig. Just purely for the fact that you've got more, from my point of view, you've got more versatility with a chest rig. Yeah, because with a plate carrier, you can't wear a big Bergen. You can always add, well, not comfortably.
I would argue, okay. It does depend on your chest rig.
Yeah.
So I know there are some chest rigs that, I mean, the ones I always like are the slightly padded, which are really not too dissimilar from my plate carrier.
Mm. But I have a assaulters pack on my plate carrier.
Mm.
Whereas you're allowed to change stuff on it?
I would say you're allowed to change it. We're talking about the base platform here. I mean, for me, I'd probably keep the plate carrier
because I don't like getting shot in the boob. And I'm sure many airsofters would agree with me. Getting shot in the nipple or in the boob area is very unpleasant.
I mean, you can probably get the same amount of kit, the same adaptability on your plate carrier to your chest rig. The only real difference with the chest rig is obviously because, I mean, for example, you can get the ones that fold up here, can't you? Mm-hmm. So you've got like the full panel, which I know you can put body armor in stuff. So like the front, I don't really see too much difference. The back is usually where you see the difference on a chest rig, which is obviously you don't have anything on the back. Whereas I know in my plate carrier, I like having my relocation cables and sort of stuff kind of coming up over the top, etc. So I think for me, it's got to be getting rid of the chest rig.
No, I'm going to stick with my first answer, chest rig. I would get rid of my plate carrier. Because also as well, summer. Yeah,
but I've worn a plate carrier in the summer. You just get hot. That's all it is.
And you were hot and you came back and you looked like you wanted to die.
Yeah, but I look like that whenever it's hot. It doesn't matter what the temperature, what I'm wearing.
I'm going to stick with mine. I think I would get more use out of a chest rig than I would out of a plate carrier.
Mm. Do you know what? I wish they could add on StreamYard just like a little poll so people could click and then we could show which way it sways. That would be cool. I'll have a chat with them. Yeah. Yeah. Kelly Marie says plate carrier because it makes me feel badass. I get that.
I mean, that's a
Yeah. Marky Mark, plate carrier. Pegasus says, get rid of chest rig, keep the plate carrier. Plenty of low profile options for a plate carrier. Abby, I prefer the chest rig now.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, chest rig with a backpack, a bit of more selfish. I mean, the chest rig with a backpack is basically a plate carrier, is it not?
Well, no, not really. Because it's a backpack.
I mean, I guess, yeah, but I guess so. I mean, I'm thinking the whole like integrated thing because again, when we talked about plate carriers last week's episode, I think it was. I like having everything like wired in and like tight, and you
can do that with a chest rig.
No, I know you can, but you can't.
Well, depending on the chest rig.
What I was thinking though is if you had a backpack with stuff in the back, whether you could have that effectively connected up permanently, which would at that point basically be a chest rig, a plate carrier, albeit you can't put plates in it. Well, I guess you could put plates in it.
Well, you could. You just
this is a really bad question for us to start with. Daniel, I can't remember when. I'll come back to that, Daniel. We'll do that afterwards. You confuse me. I don't read things before people just randomly post them. I bring them up. Sam says you can still wire your bits and pieces to your backpack, then you can slip it on and off a bit quicker, carry more.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go. I'm still gonna go with plate carrier. I'm gonna keep plate carrier.
I'm gonna go with chest rig. There you go.
Yeah. Right. Here's an interesting one, which isn't really a this or that. This is just a yay or nay. But dump pouch or no dump pouch, which is a bit of a silly question because I think you have to have a dump pouch.
Dump pouch all the time. I just think dump pouches are probably the most universal pouch that you can use. You can have it for storing chems. You can have it storing things that you've just randomly picked up off the floor, like rocks or stones. You can wind your friends up. You can wind your friends up by putting rocks and stones into it as well.
Yeah.
Mags, obviously. One thing that I do want to try is, and I've seen a lot of people doing it now, is they've put their dump pouch in the front.
Yes.
Now, for me, and sorry for any ladies that are listening, because obviously you don't have this problem, but that is a dick punisher right there. Like, if you've got gas mags and you start running along and you've left them in there, or you dive down, call me Sally after that, because it ain't gonna.
I mean,
you see what I mean? I like the idea of it, and I can see the logic to it, but for me, I feel like certain parts of the male body are going to get absolutely beaten.
See, I used to run a dangler. So
I run a dangler.
Yes, the dangler being, for those who don't know, is like the kind of triangular type thing that hangs below the plate carrier, which is effectively just admin. It's not really. There's no body armor aspect to it. Yeah, I think you can get them with body armor equivalents, but I think I don't like my dangler because of the concept of when I'm crawling along. If I put anything in there, it was basically just pressing into my stomach. So if you're on your belt buckles trying to move along, that was a real issue. I tried a dump pouch in that position once for about the space of 15 minutes and then did some crawling along, and turned out I would just turn myself into a big bulldozer. And then I stood back up and I've just now got a dump pouch full of dirt and leaves and sticks.
Picking up rocks.
Exactly. Yes, but that's not intentional picking up of rocks. So I can't say I'm a big fan of the front facing. I can see why they're useful though. I mean, if you're firing, and you're kind of in an assault type scenario or whatever like that, being able to just drop them in front of you instead of having to make that maneuver, where you're putting it on your back left kidney or your back right or however. Yeah. I can see being a quicker positioning. Maybe a dump pouch on like your left thigh. Almost like, like you see it. Yeah, you see it like, I think mountain climbers and stuff like that, where they've got the dust. Normally they have that kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm picturing it. Maybe they don't, but sort of on their left thigh. So the only thing is that if you sit down, it's immediately where your legs are going to go. So that might be a problem. But I think fundamentally you need to have a dump pouch. They are ever so useful.
I would go to the point of saying that you aren't an airsofter if you don't have a dump pouch. Just saying.
You're speed softer at that point. You don't need to change mag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I would keep the dump pouch.
I use my dump pouch a lot more. I've got my AK, the gas blowback AK, because the magazines are such a faff to get back in the in the holder, or in the what's it called, pouch, basically, because they're a weird angle. Like my old M4 style, or whatever like that, nice straight and everything like that, just slots straight in. I've got no problem. Whereas this, I've got to make like a proper curved move to get it in the thing.
Yeah, with AKs, like loading, you've got to do a weird arm movement. Cocking it, you've got to do weird arm movement. Re-indexing them, you've got to do a weird arm movement. The Russians are very flamboyant in that way.
Well, all I can imagine is that they didn't anticipate you needing to re-index, and you just lob it at the enemy. Yeah. You know, at that point, it's just a weapon in itself. But yeah, I think dump pouches are fundamental, because ultimately, if you're running around, you're picking up objectives or anything like that. It gives you somewhere you can just stash a hard drive, or bag of sweets, or whatever the objective is that you're picking up. Anything that just doesn't fit in a normal pouch ends up in a dump pouch as well.
I tend to put a lot of pyro in there. So people that have played with me out on game zones, they a lot of people know that I'm not a big fan of BFGs or pyro that you have to recollect. For me, I like striking it, throwing it in, letting it go bang, and just carrying on going through. No worries, no having to go back 20 minutes later and it's gone missing. So for me, a lot of my
excuse
pyro...
me, I know you're middle firefight. Can I have my grenade back, please?
I hate it. Absolutely hate it. So I fill my dump pouch. If I know that I'm, especially at a sim event, if I know that I'm going for a breaching roll, or we're assaulting a certain area, that dump pouch just gets filled with pyro, because it's out the way, it's on my back. I know that wherever I am, I'll always be able to get to it, and because it's behind you, unless something drastically goes wrong, the chances are that you're not going to break it. So I think that's a really good pyro storage. But then I went from the extreme of going from a really tiny dump pouch that would hold like 2 or 3 mags.
Just a bin bag.
Yeah, it's just basically, it's just this huge, like it will hold all 5 of my AK mags plus pyro at the bottom. Like this thing is monstrous. I mean, it's a little bit too big now. So
yeah. Okay, here's a slight tangent then on this one. What would you rather have? Have you ever run with more than one dump pouch? And if so, where do we draw the line in terms of there being too many? Because I'm toying with having a second as a backup, or just basically the other side of me.
Yeah, my problem with that is if my belts tend to slide down anyway. I'm quite a straight shape. I don't have childbearing hips or anything like that. So when I get a belt, if I put too much weight on it, when I go charging off into the distance, I have to stop. I have to stop after about 10 feet to pull my trousers back up.
You need to get yourself a harness. I'll fix that problem. Is it not working then?
No, because I don't need to with my new Agilite belt.
Okay.
Just saying, if you are a straight person with no childbearing hips, or if you have childbearing hips, buy the Agilite belt. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I've been looking at getting. So I've got the Warrior Slimline ones, because I think it takes up 1 row of molly vertically. And it, you compacts all up, and then you can hoik it all down, and you've got a nice dump pouch basically. There's another Warrior one that I've got, which is a longer one, which is a bit more robust, but I find that if you're not going to use it, you want it kind of compact and rolled up, basically. So it's almost the size of the IFAC, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm looking to sort of replace them out with the slimline one, basically. But the JJ's one, so there's a JJ's like micro one, which is probably only about like, maybe sort of 4 inches by 4 inches, which annoyingly has been out of stock for a while now. And I really want them to bring it back into stock. I was kind of thinking about putting, even as who said it? Somebody said it. There you go, Call Sign Samurai. Put one on your belt and one on your plate carrier. So I was debating putting one on the plate carrier, basically. That's a like little micro one. There's just a little extra backup. I think it only fits maybe like 3 mags,
but then
maybe 3 or 4 M4s.
Would you not find that too high?
But I'm only using that as a secondary. So basically,
my plate carrier just stops probably just above my belly button. So it's quite a short plate carrier. And I know the Warrior ones can go down a little bit further, and some of the plate carriers are basically just like wearing a jacket. But for me, wearing like quite a short cut plate carrier, if I was to have a dump pouch on my, say, lower back of my plate carrier, it would be really hard to get stuff in there and get stuff out, for me personally.
Yeah. But then this is again where it boils down to potentially it's helpful for the team. So I mean, on my back of my plate carrier, I've got the the field packs, like the slightly sort of triangular shaped British Army field packs. So they come with pouches on the side, which are kind of a long rectangular thing, and they've got a strip of Velcro running all the way down the length, so you can basically set them up to be maybe sort of 2 or 3 inches in height, but then you can strap it up so it's like maybe 4 or 5 inches in height, which is really good for pyro, I find. So, if I have that on my back, somebody can put pyro in it. We're running along, whatever. We get up to a wall. We're breaching the door. No one's got any pyro. I can, indicate there's someone on my back. Someone can get it out, pass it forward, and then we've got pyro in the team. I always worry about putting pyro on my back. If I can't reach it, that's going off back there.
Because I've sort of got a dump pouch on the Agilite backpack, because it's got the what they call the helmet retention thing, which is basically just a bag that you roll up and then you can unroll and use G hooks. So I've sort of got one if I wanted team members to use it.
Yeah, I think it's just an interesting idea, just having more than one dump pouch. I'm going to potentially give it a go. I think, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that I'm going to replace the main one, which I've effectively got on my left hip. My left buttock, basically, is where it sits.
Yeah, that's
right. So I can easily put stuff in and out of it. And like the AK mags and stuff like that, that'll go in there. But what I'm thinking is just having something for, let's say, objectives or anything like that. You pick something up that you haven't got an other place for. Even like, a teammate's dropped their gloves. Just, I don't really want to be running around with like pockets full of gloves and stuff like that. Whereas you could just pull out a quick pouch and just stick it in there. And then you've got a pouch that's not huge, but just designed that you can put a few extra bits in there if you need to, as mission dependent things, basically. But we'll give it a go. I'll give it a go and feedback. But I think fundamentally, yes, dump pouch, you need one.
Yeah.
Right. We've got loads of people in the chat talking. So we've got Pegasus Dangler is purely belly protection for me. Daniel Guest, hand warmer on the front. Obviously, you can store stuff and re-index from there.
Oh, see, yeah, I actually take my hand warmer off during the summer because it does make my belly sweat. Because I have a big old belly at the moment. So,
it's a lovely thought. Pegasus had a dump pouch that was on a drop leg. I don't know where it is these days. That must be. That would flap about, surely. I mean, your legs are moving enough anyway.
Well, it all depends if it had it on his thigh. Like, how far did it go down?
Yeah.
A drop leg could go all the way down to your ankles.
I think that would be a bit of an excessive drop leg, wouldn't it? Yeah. I think even like mid like upper thigh or whatever like that.
But then, to be fair, most of us are wearing combat trousers. You would say 98%.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you've got a big baggy pocket. Yeah, but if you've got a baggy pocket and then you've got a magazine or something in there, if you're running along and that pocket is baggy, that magazine is traveling as you're running. You know, there is a lot of lateral movement on there. Whereas with plate carrier or your harness or your chest rig, whatever you're using, your battle belt, I think when you've got it more central to your waistline, I don't think it moves quite as much. I mean, if you think about just the logistics of running, if you've got your legs here and then your waist is your knuckles, your legs are doing, you know, all the action, and then your waist is kind of just rotating round. So you get some technical science there for you.
Yeah, how to run, children.
Yeah. Woo. Kevin says, before dump pouches, you open your main smock zip and throw them in there. Waist belt stops them from falling out.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't think many people wear smocks playing anymore, do they?
I do in the winter.
I think you still see. I'd be interesting to actually do a metric on this, but I do think you'll probably see more people still playing in U-backs in the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, even the old school sort of field shirts and stuff like that, I don't think you see as many of those being worn, because I think people do generally tend to opt for a U-back, and then if they're cold, they put something over the top like a jumper or a fleece or something like that, or hoodie. I don't know. Some more science at some point. Abby says, "Can I know more about that belt, please?"
Which belt? My belt. It is the Agilite Magnex tick. I can't remember it, but it's basically the Agilite one.
Magnetics.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh, there you go. Pegasus beat me to it.
Pegasus says, Abby, Andy's belt is the Agilite Magnetics. The inner belt molds nicely to your hips and hold well to the point it's become my everyday belt.
Yeah, literally same. The inner belt I wear literally all the day. I was wearing it at work today. It does mold to your shape really well. It's got nice padding to it as well, so it doesn't rub or anything. The Velcro is really good. And the one thing that I really like is they've put 2 magnets. So you put your inner belt in, and you can, you know, when you see everyone putting on their belt and they're taking it off each time and getting it right, that issue has completely gone with this, because you just line up the 2 magnets, it pops it in, and that's it. You just do it up. Really secure, and it's the only belt that I've ever run where I don't need to have the suspender straps. Really good belt, highly recommended.
I seemingly remember somebody saying on the chat they didn't like magnets on things. I think it was Ash, Pegasus at some point. I think there was a chat about magnets.
No, but not magnets that hold things permanently in place. That's just silly.
Yeah. Oh no, we were talking about the quick disconnect systems on plate carriers that you can replace the standard Velcro ones with. You can have like a magnet one, so it lines up with it. The magnet, again, all that does is it basically lines up the quick disconnect system, and then the rest of it clicks in.
But I mean, it's there.
Like, I don't know what you're touching.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like, quick detach is like here or here. So just yeah, I know you like them, so I'll agree. But
yeah, at some point, Andy, you need to demonstrate putting the belt on. We'll do that as a separate video. We'll put that on the OnlyFans.
Oh, it's in the car. Because where it lives, like the inner belt literally genuinely lives in the car now. I might have to buy a second one. Like a second inner belt.
Okay, here we go. Would you get rid of HPA, right, or completely spring-only rifles? So we're talking, and by spring-only, I'm talking...
what, like sniper rifles and shotguns?
Yeah, like a sniper rifle type thing. Or anything that requires, like, you know, effectively a pump-action maneuver. So, for example, I know that the sniper rifles that just require a spring mechanism that you obviously charge, and then you get your fire, and then you pull it back. And exclude all the KCO2s and various other things that have other mechanisms, but we're talking HPAs or get rid of springers completely.
That's actually quite a tough one because both have their merits and both have their disadvantages, in my opinion. I know a lot of people would say bin HPA, but I would say bin springers and keep HPA.
What's your rationale?
Because you can make a quieter weapon using HPA.
Yeah. So yeah, when this popped up,
you got a lot more efficiency with HPA.
Yeah.
So if someone made a HPA sniper rifle, you would not need the Springer action side of things.
Yeah.
And plus, HPA is sort of gas, and I like gas weapons because you can add a recoil to them.
The other question above this was AEG versus GBBR, and that was going to be a fair competition. So I think the HPA versus Springer. I'm taking a slightly different stance here. I take the same answer. I agree with you on getting rid of the Springers. In my view, if you got rid of Springers, there'd probably be an awful lot less idiots running around with BB guns, because it's the Springers that are prevalent in random shops. You know, you go down the beach and you can buy I don't know, some sort of Springer pistol or whatever. And I think that's a big problem. So I think if you got rid of Springers on that basis, and you are right, there are obviously other mechanisms for sniper rifles and shotguns where they can utilize a different power source, be it CO2 or HPA, even just gas blowback, AEGs, stuff like that. You know, there's obviously differences there. So, yeah, I would agree with you. I think we get rid of Springs.
Yeah, Springers.
Yeah. But not for the reasons.
Not
for the same reasons.
I like Abby this evening. She's agreed with everything I've said so far. So we got you, Abby.
Right. Would you rather get rid of a torch or a laser?
Laser.
Okay. I would have thought with the IR, because I know you use your IR a fair bit.
But I still need to. I don't always use my night vision. Sometimes I need to see what I'm looking at, so I need a torch. Whereas a laser it gives it. If you're shining your IR laser at a target and you know for a fact that the opposition have night vision, you are basically giving them a guided arrow to your location. Whereas if you put a strobe on a light, you are taking away their night vision capabilities and blinding them at the same time. If they haven't got them, you're just using a strobe, and it's harder to pinpoint their location. Plus, the only time that I use my laser is when I've got my night vision on. I literally don't use it any other time. So,
you ever use, out of interest, you ever use like a red or green laser or anything like that? Because I know that was always like the first attachment that you see people get. It's like, oh yeah, I've got a new airsoft gun. It's amazing. I put my laser on it, etc., etc. I don't think I've used a laser in the last 15 years, 10 years maybe.
No. I mean, a visible laser, like to the naked eye, I've barely used. I used it on the mall that I got, just purely to see if it worked. But the rest of the time, it just stays on IR if I use a laser. But I think to a visual laser, I haven't used in ages.
Abby makes a point there. So most sites don't allow them anymore. So obviously there's a health and safety issue with lasers. I don't think for the most part they're much benefit anyway, because airsoft guns don't fire where you want them to fire. And best will in the world, you can have one of the best tuned up airsoft guns, everything like that, that's, you know, relatively accurate, but you are not going to be hitting that laser point every single time unless you're talking 5-10 meters away. In which case, probably don't need a laser, probably just point and shoot at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I can see, like when I use my IR, it is literally just to point out a location. It's not to, it's to say there's movement over there, and you do a quick flash and then a quick flash again. But other than that, I very rarely use it.
Cool. All right, we're getting rid of lasers. Okay. Are we getting rid of the AK platform or the M4 platform?
Oh, I genuinely I can't answer.
I'm going to start this one off. I'm going to get rid of the AK platform because as much as I love the AK, it's, as we talked about earlier, it's too fiddly to do anything with. Now, I appreciate, obviously, real steel AK versus M4. You know, the M4 you generally have to clean pretty much every time you fire it. You know, if it sees dust and sand, it can have a shit fit and struggle. Whereas the AK, you can pretty much, you know, beat rocks with it, and it would probably be okay. But I think from an airsoft point of view, it's just fiddly.
But then again, is that because you haven't had much practice with it and you've had more practice? If you started off the hobby and you had used an AK the entire time, you might turn around and
I'll tell you, here's a really easy one. So I've been loading mags into pouches for a very long time. And you can get a whole variety of mags. You get the 5.56 style with slight curve on them. You can get kind of a more traditional, just straight down shape, so like a G3. MP5 mags, I've had loads of those. I've had MP9 mags, which are dead straight. Things that are straight and easy to put in are generally okay. The only one I've ever had a real issue with in re-indexing is AK mags. And I don't, like, you can't buy pouches for them. Like,
yeah, you can.
Okay, that's a lie. You can buy pouches for them, but you don't have the same diversity in buying pouches for them. So, for example, you know, there aren't hundreds of brands, everything like that, which provide the same level of retention, and that's a key thing, because I've seen some pouches where I'll use my phone as an indicator. So if this is the AK mag, the pouch kind of sits there, so the rest of it's just sort of flopping around at the top. Whereas if you want like a proper retentioned on it, so like a flap over the top of it, so it's not going to go anywhere. That's a real problem. And I know Agilite sell them.
What I was going to say. Agilite sell a universal pouch, which will take AKs, and I have tried it out, and they're very good. Again,
I'm not saying that they're not, but the point I'm trying to make is that is one mag brand or mag pouch brand that is, you know, I've not tried it, so let's call it half decent, all right? But there's an awful lot of M4 pouches or anything like that, where you can pick up a bog standard M4 pouch and it's just fine. You know, if you are starting off in the sport and you're trying to put together a loadout quite cheaply, you know, look at old Osprey pouches and stuff like that, which not ideal. You know, they've got a great big whacking Velcro flap and everything like that, but they are going to be properly retentioned. I don't know. They're not going to start falling out. Whereas when you start looking at, you know, gas blowback mags, which are a reasonable amount of money already. I mean, the AK GHK ones, the AKM ones, I think they're about 60 quid a mag.
Yeah.
So if I'm putting that on something that can flop out, that's no good for me, because I don't want to just be running around and then just basically 60 quid's just falling out here, there, and everywhere.
I mean, if we're going on a pure simple fact of like what you can buy for it, then yeah, I would say get rid of the AK systems. Yeah, I think, yeah, if you're going to break it down to the points of what you can buy for them in regards to your kit, how easy it is to get that utility shipped to you, unless you go to Ukraine or get someone to post something over to you from somewhere. It is quite hard over here. But then again, that's probably because it's not a popular platform. So I would say if you're gonna break it down to that point, then yeah, it would be, you'd have to get rid of the AK.
It's the most iconic,
but not mine.
So I mean, this is the thing. You say it's not a popular platform, but why are they not popular? because they are, you show
bad guy weapon.
Yeah, but you show a picture of an AK to people, and people know that that's an AK. They'll not necessarily get the right acronym or number or whatever, the specific model, but for the most part, they'll go, "That's an AK." Whereas, and I always find this, people come and show me, they're like, "Oh yeah, look, check this out. I've got my new rifle. It's a blah blah blah," and you're like, "Yeah, cool. That's another M4 platform," And all right, I get they look a little bit different. You might have some marginal differences here or there, but for the most part, they just look the same. Yeah. There are certain groups that you and I are both a member of in WhatsApp that I'm not going to name because you'll start taking the piss. But there are certain groups where people talk about expensive, fancy guns, and ultimately, they are an M4 platform sometimes with just like a little skinny mag coming out of it. It's like, okay, you put a pistol mag in an M4, that looks cool. Your rattler's effectively an M4.
Yes, but it's a baby M4.
But it's still just M4. M4. So I think AK wins. The point I'm trying to make is that AK wins, I think, from a identity point of view. I mean, the PKM, people might not know it's a PKM, but they will identify it probably as an AK. Yeah. Like the AK sniper rifle is going to be a Dragunov, but people call it like the AK sniper rifle.
Yeah. Even though it looks nothing like an AK.
No, I know, I get that. But so you might be right on the whole, it being the bad guy weapons.
Yeah, I reckon that.
But, all right, okay, hang on. Because if we claim that as fact, then the LA85s and everything like that would be prevalent in the UK, and they're not.
No, because they're crap. I mean, there's a difference there. Like even like
SA80, sorry.
Yeah, the real versions, and many people say that they are crap. I've never fired one, so I cannot comment. But a lot of serving or ex-serving people that we know have said that they are a pile of shit. And then they've decided to make it into an airsoft version, which is also a pile of shit.
But it's never works,
right? Because it never works because bullpups in airsoft just confuse the gun.
Yeah. I mean, I've just a quick Google, like, what's the best rifle ever made? Just as a quick poll. They're saying like the M1 Garand and Mauser 98. They're pretty iconic. You look at the MG42s, again, very iconic. But you don't get loads of them flying around.
No, but I mean, that sort of question is, what's the best gun around? Well, it has to be the 50 cal. It's the longest running weapon that has not changed. No,
I appreciate that. The point I'm making though is that we said, oh yeah, the good guy weapons are the AK-47s. So that's probably the reason people don't have them. Well, sorry, the bad guy weapons are the AK-47. Yeah. But there are good guy weapons that aren't prevalent as well. And the Barrett 50 cal is an example. Like, there aren't a lot of those floating around because in airsoft doesn't really give you a huge advantage. You're not getting a 50 cal BB flying through the enemy.
Tennis balls. Tennis ball at 2.2 joules to the side of the head.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same with LMGs versus sort of normal rifles, really, on that front, because people don't take LMGs skirmishing because there isn't really much point.
Which gun, Abby?
Probably the Barrett.
I hope not the Rattler.
So yeah, okay. So we're getting rid of the AK, are we?
Sorry, I just kicked the TV.
That's all right. Are we getting rid of the AK then?
Yeah, I reckon we'll have to get rid of the AK.
Okay.
Sad time.
Right, let's talk about gameplay and tactics. So a little bit of a change up here. Ooh. Would you rather take the offense or the defense of an objective?
Offense. Just because it's more fun. And I know where they are.
True.
Yeah. 100% offense. Because and Ash will back me up on this. When you're pushing through an objective or pushing towards an objective, when you're rushing that area and you're under fire and you're taking people out, you're not calling your hits. But that you get a lot more.
Did we just admit to open blatant cheating there?
Yeah. No, but like when you're, that was a dig at someone that was probably watching.
Oh, okay.
I find it a lot more exhilarating and a lot more fun than just sitting there waiting, which is one reason why I don't do sniping or like I'm very much, and a lot of players have seen Ash play. Me and Ash, we like to get stuck in and get into the fray of it. Because also as well, sometimes you can push straight through and people don't realise and you don't realise, and then you kind of turn around and go, I can get some sneaky knife kills now. Which is always a bonus.
Yeah. See, I like offensive play, but not in the fray of it, if that makes sense. So my offensive play generally tends to be outflanking and just trying to get round the back of people, which does fall into the whole sort of sneaky thing. Like you always want to try and fight them when they're not expecting you to be, in my opinion. So like a particular scenario comes to mind at Apocalypse, for example. I did a skirmish day there, and you got your main firefight in your pinch point. But literally just kind of taking a bit of a step back, kind of sneaking around the sides, kind of flitting around the boundaries of where you're trying to get to. You can kind of adopt that sneaky, and then you can get right in behind them without, you're not breaching any rules or anything like that. You're obviously not going out of the game zone, but you can make those maneuvers and get round them basically. But I have to admit, I do like a defensive position. It's boring if you're just defending and no one's attacking. I think you've got to obviously take that out of it because that's effectively just stag duty. I don't think anyone properly enjoys stag duty. It can be an okay downtime, but you don't want to be going to an event and doing 8 to 12 hours of stag duty. That's not probably the most real MilSim thing that you could do, but it's not fun. But I like defensive positions. I like laying up and waiting for people to come into effectively my kill zone. I don't like sitting in an enclosed space that I've been told to defend. If that makes sense. I'm very much an advocate of setting out OPs and things like that, and I'd far rather be out trying to get those early kills where people don't expect you to be. Because if you are being told, all right, you've got to go and assault that fort, you don't want to put all your forces in the fort because that's, as you say, where you're expecting them to be. So you can have one or two people cause absolute chaos and mayhem without a huge loss of your team, just by positioning little lone OPs out, just to pick off like the first 4 in a squad that's assaulting. Especially with an LMG or something like that, that's always quite good fun.
Yeah, but you're.
I'm effectively offensively defending.
Yeah. So that's kind of mixing the two. I think if you're going on the like, for me, you drop defensive because everyone would get more enjoyment out of attacking or being offensive.
Which do you think is harder to do?
Defense.
You reckon it's harder to defend than attack?
Yeah. Because you're sat in one location. As soon as the opposition force know where you are and what you're defending, they can work their way around you. They can pick you off one at a time. You're sitting there waiting to either shoot someone or get shot. Whereas if you're offensive, if you attack one area and you get pushed back, you don't have to keep attacking that same point over and over again. You can change it up. Whereas a defensive position, you're defending. There's not really a lot you can do.
But then if you're having to move to a position, then you are having to move from points of cover to point of cover. Whereas if you're defending, you can remain in. I know what you're saying in terms of once they know you're there, they can obviously pick you off. I think
because you're not going to deviate from that area. If you've got a hold location A, say you've got a hold location A, you're not going to go, all right, well, I need to hold location A, but I'm just going to walk halfway to location B. You're still going to stay within that area. So as an attacking player,
but I think that's the difference. That's the difference with what my point of view is that ultimately I would be doing that as part of my defense. I think there's too much that falls into when you're being told to defend somewhere. People go, "Oh, right, and we must encircle this, like link arms and just stand around the box that we've been told to defend." Whereas,
but you're still not going to be. You're still going to be within the area, because if you need to fall back to it and stuff. So I know where you are roughly going to be, which obviously. What
about on the basis of a one hit kill, i.e. you only have one life? Because I think if you've got a team, I know we're sort of talking cross purposes because you've got airsoft skirmishing, you've got MilSim and stuff like that. I think if you've got a team of 10 assaulting a defensive position of a team of, we'll call it balanced teams, team of 10, I think that the attacking force would struggle more without extra range or anything like that, like a sniper rifle or anything like that. I think they would struggle more moving to a position.
We all know it's harder to hit a moving target in airsoft than it is a stationary target in airsoft. But
you have to move, though. That's the thing. If you've got to push in, because I've been into.
So I'm moving. So if I'm running, it's going to be harder for you to hit me. Whereas as soon as you open up, I know exactly where you are. I can spray that area with BBs, and the chances are that I'm going to hit you are higher than you hitting me moving at. I'm going to say this with quotes: speed.
Speed. Yeah. I think the point I'm trying to convey is, for example, I've done some. I don't know if anyone ever went the depot ambush adventures, the depot in Aldershot.
No, I haven't.
And then they lost the depot site and they went to somewhere called the barracks. And there was an excellent. It's a sort of CQB site, but you're fighting through corridors and things like that. Which, if you set up properly, you could defend in various stages quite easily because of the fact that you are fighting effectively corridor to corridor. There was opportunities for sort of like little A4 size murder holes and stuff like that, which you could fire through, which meant that you could effectively funnel where the enemy's coming from, so you know where they're coming from. It's not a case of in a wood block or anything like that where you're at speed, because you could be traversing in any one direction, right? I understand in a wood block, obviously you've got that, but generally in a more built-up scenario, you are funneled into places, and that I think is more effective for defensive tactics.
Yeah, but then that's like it's just saying you're set up with an LMG and I'm just going to run straight at you. Even in a wood block, if I run straight at you,
no, I'm not.
Even with a pistol,
yeah, right. So this is what I'm saying. So ignore the LMG. But the point I'm making is that in a wood block, you have that capability to move around. You can outflank and you can maneuver. I think if you are defending urban scenarios, you are suffering with that pinned down nature. And I do think defensive in that case would be easier.
But then my counter to that would be lots of pyro. I know where you are, remember?
Yeah, but the pyro can go two ways though.
Yeah, but I can get round. I can move around the building. I don't have to go into that building to take out a room. I can be outside. Whereas if you're defending and you've defended a corridor because that's where you think that's where you want us to go. Well, as soon as that first assault gets wiped out and gets absolutely murdered, the attacking team can go, well, I'm not doing that again. Whereas you are,
no, granted, but then we're falling back onto the whole you've got more than one life, you can learn from your mistake type thing, aren't we?
Yeah, but I mean,
if you've got a team of 10, you put your team of...
You're not going to send all 10 in one go.
But if you put a team of 5 in, your team of 5 get wiped out, you've immediately halved your forces.
Yeah, but then I know exactly where you are, and then I can move around the bit. This is what I'm saying. Attacking would be...
No, I know, but then I think the stance of maintaining your exact same position, because we all know that when whenever you're assaulting anything, if you keep repeatedly popping out the same place, you're going to get shot. We know that. Yeah, because you think it's basically repeating the same maneuver and just expecting a different outcome, isn't it? Like,
which happens a lot.
Yeah. Marky Mark says it would depend on the AO. In a woodblock, you could set a defensive ambush, but urban offensive fighting. So, yeah, I think it massively. I think depends on the tactics and the game scenario.
So, what would you choose? Going back to,
well, you've kind of swayed me because I think you've pointed out that my defensive nature is generally quite offensive, even though it's static. But I don't generally just sit around the objective. You kind of have perimeters and stuff like that. So I would probably say that we're going to get rid of defensive gameplay and go for aggressive attacking gameplay. Abby switched. Abby went defense and then a few minutes later attack. Pegasus said keep offensive. I don't know. So,
I like this argument sort of.
Yeah.
I like it.
Everyone's entitled to your opinion, but it doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, exactly. But I've persuaded you on a few things so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Would you rather get rid of?
I've got one.
I've
got one.
Yeah, go on.
Let me do one. What would you rather get rid of? LMGs or snipers?
Snipers.
Yeah.
Right, so I need to preface this because I don't want to start getting a load of angry emails from snipers. I really like the concept of sniping, and it is something that when I've got a bit of spare capital that I can properly invest in a decent sniper rifle platform, I'm going to get into, because I don't mind doing the recon recce side of things. So for a MilSim, quite happy to sit there and do that, as long as I can get, like, you know, if you get a tasking, you've just got to get one shot on one person that weekend. Be quite up for doing that. Maybe not all the time, but I'd be quite up for doing that. From a gameplay perspective, snipers are very effective at holding down areas of ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that frustrates me because I've seen so many teams have this problem in that they come across a sniper, everyone immediately goes to ground, and then that's it. You're just pinned down, and the gameplay becomes quite static. Whereas I think with an LMG, when you've got them on a team and you can use them suppressive fire and stuff like that, it is that more dynamic approach. You know, and I think the other thing that bugs me, are we including ghillies within this, or are we just talking about the platforms themselves?
Just the platforms themselves. So you could be wearing you could be wearing a Mr. Blobby outfit and using a sniper rifle. Right.
Well, in that case, because that's more challenging. Because if you come up against Mr. Blobby in the woods with a sniper rifle, you're probably going to know where they are. At which point, I would get rid of LMGs.
But then you've got the
distance. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. With a sniper rifle, you've got the distance. Maybe the problem I've got is ghillie suits. Leaf suits. Yeah. Oh, the camouflage is too good. I think in that instance, I think let's get rid of LMG. Are we including DMRs within this sort of sniper thing? Because Mark's put a good point in there. Get rid of snipers because you can use LMGs for cover fire. Plus, you'd still have DMRs to fill that role.
Well, DMRs don't have as much range as a sniper rifle.
No,
in my opinion. So it was literally just
okay. So we're basically comparing rate of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And sustained fire under the rules of a MilSim, because I don't want some knobhead running around with his pistol firing at 400,000 rounds a second.
Yeah.
Versus the range of a sniper is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get rid of the LMGs in that instance then. Yeah. Were you there when we did the sniper event at with Empire Events? No. See, that was really good, because when you are shot, you're shot once.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And there's a bit of time to it, and you know, people sort of take care to get into position, and I think it means more when you get that hit. Whereas with an LMG, you are there for suppressive fire. You are basically You are basically just throwing BBs downrange with the concept of, you know, I might have missed that first shot, but the next 1100 will be all right.
But with a sniper rifle, you don't have the satisfaction of literally cutting down trees and bushes that are in your way.
No.
So you go, I know there's an enemy behind that bush. I'm going to get rid of the bush.
Yeah, true. But I do think that there's more karma and there's more like
more karma.
There's more satisfaction with winning when you hit someone with a perfectly placed shot, as opposed to I fired 300 and one of them hit them.
Yes, but then when you wipe out an entire squad.
I know when you wipe out an entire squad, but you can see some of the sniper footage online and everything like that, and you know the proximity that people get with the ghillie suits and things you can do with a pistol.
We're not talking with ghillie suits.
I know we're not talking pistols, but you can do it with bolt action if you really wanted to. You can get a fair few people out with a bolt action. So I'm personally gonna get rid of LMGs on that basis. If you were including ghillie suits within this, as a ghillied sniper versus a non-ghillied LMG, I would get rid of the ghillied sniper.
Right.
Because I think the ghillie suits are too good for airsoft, fundamentally. I think the only real way to combat it is with thermal, and not everyone has thermal. So yes. I think it makes a slight unfair advantage, in all fairness, because a lot of airsofters are not coordinated enough to provide accurate, sustained ghillie hunting. It's just too hard. You've got people that are as camouflaged as it is to be able to lay there on the ground, or people actually physically step on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you're arming them with a platform that's got potentially more range than other people's platforms anyway. They are quiet as anything. And Abby, unfortunately, sites are cracking down on ghillied LMGs because that's one of my favourite roles.
Yeah. Yeah, Rift, don't it?
Yeah.
You get asked to move on quite quickly nowadays when you're... Yeah. But also as well, like a ghillied LMG, after a little while, they are gonna work out where you are, mainly because,
of course they are.
Mainly because the grass that is in front of you has now disappeared into a sort of a V shape.
No, I mean, it's the same with sniping, really. Like, you get to a point where enough people go down where you can kind of start to get a feel for where the sniper is. You know, I mean, game zones, we're not talking the rate of engagement distance being more than like 150 meters at most. And if people are repeatedly if everyone's hiding behind a tree and people are being repeatedly shot, you can start to work out, right, well, that person was defended from that position, so they couldn't have got hit that way. So people are probably taking hits from the left-hand side. Mm-hmm. So but you can start to narrow it down. But I do think that this is not me having to go at ghillie suits, because I think they're really good and genuinely really effective. But the problem is that they are a little bit too effective.
Yeah.
And I think it causes an issue.
Mike's just jealous of all the ghillie suits because they keep beating him.
No, not beating. Not beating per se, because the number of ghillies that you see who are
good
moving.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen plenty of places. You just sit there in the woods long enough, and all of a sudden, this bush that was standing there just starts striding across like a Wookiee, and you're like, "Oh, well, see him." When we did the MilSim at Apocalypse recently, were you on that one? I can't remember. No, I don't think you were.
No, I wasn't.
So we did a MilSim at Apocalypse. Yes, it was. So we did a MilSim at Pegasus says, so only ghillies are allowed is high-vis ghillies. No, I think ghillies are good, but it's just I think they are just a little bit overpowered in airsoft, to be honest with you. Because it takes, genuinely, I think it would probably take you in a dense wood block, probably in the region of like 20 to 30 people to sweep that wood block properly, to get rid of that ghillie, and you're probably losing maybe half your people doing that. unless you've got a thermal. If you have one person equipped with thermal, that will immediately change the playing field, because now you've got a specialist anti-ghillie role.
Yeah, if they've got a
and the ghillie role, is very, very good, because having that sniper, having that kind of recon element and everything like that, being able to provide the information, sneaking past enemy lines to get into a perfect position to provide, accurate shooting or whatever. But from a normal skirmish day, one of the reasons that the ghillies get the chance to do all these lovely videos of shooting everyone is the fact that fundamentally people can't fucking see them. Like the long shots, everything like that, don't get me wrong, that's obviously down to the platform. But as soon as they're getting the shots with the pistols and things like that, predominantly that is the advantage of the ghillie suit, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Sorry to all our listeners that wear ghillie suits. Mike just doesn't like you.
No, I do. And I'm actually having a chat with Silly Ghillie at the moment about how to make a decent ghillie suit, like, set up, because I want to join these. Literally, I want to get a sniper rifle platform to do this. But
so it's very much the case of, if you can't beat them, join them for you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Because ultimately, okay, let's compare this then. So you've got in the field, who's going to be more effective? A team of 5 to 6 players that are ghillied up with assault rifles that are basically running a defensive position, or one ghillied sniper doing the same thing.
All right, what? Doing the same thing? 5?
Mm.
5 guys.
Just from the force multiplier type thing. You've got physically 5 more people. If the ghillie goes down, you've got someone to back up to basically provide medic support and stuff like that. So that's why I'm trying to do it. I want to, get to a point potentially where I'm in a small fire team that's got some camouflage capability, so that when you are doing offensive defense or whatever we're talking about, and you're setting up your OPs and stuff like that, you've got that capability to provide that shock and awe on players that are kind of approaching you. And it's that you don't have to do much. You can see it nowadays. Just to throw a Hessian net over you or something like that, like a scrim net, lay in a bush slightly away from the objective where you would expect a sniper to come in from, and that's where they all come from. If you want to go sniper hunting, it's not hard to work out where they're going to come from. So yeah, let's move on. Abby Ratley says, but could you not have one, but the eye sees movement, so as long as you are still, then most people don't actually see you if you're not moving? You could not have one. I'm confused by what you're saying there, Abby, sorry. Unless, Andy, you can translate. But you could not have one, but the eye sees movement, so as long as you are still, and then most people don't actually see if you're not moving.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to agree with Abby.
Okay.
Sorry, Abby.
Sorry, Abby. Right. Would you rather have a TL or an RO? Let me set some context for this. So an RO being the person who is responsible for coordinating separately back to command and providing that kind of communication there to go and ascertain what's going on, where to go. The TL being a dedicated person in the team who is effectively providing a chain of command for the team, so that the team isn't having to make up their own decisions as to what they're going to be doing maneuvers-wise.
I would rather drop... I'd rather drop the radio.
Yeah?
And have the TL, because too many cooks can spoil the dinner, can't it? So if you've got one person there to say, right, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it, off we go, there's no arguments. If you have 5 or 6 guys going, right, well, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this. If it's time sensitive, by the time you've all decided what you're going to be doing and had your little hash out, that moment could have long passed, or you could have all been discovered, or you could all be like shot out.
Mhm.
Whereas
You're
I would presume that
you're assuming that there's no chain of command with the RO though. So, for example, let's have a scenario here. So, for example, the tasking is 10 o'clock. You need to have secured a building. So the TL knows that and has gone, right, we're going to be moving to the building, but they've got no other communication out with anybody. Whereas with the RO, they can still get the same information in terms of, the tasking is to obtain this building at 10 o'clock, but it could also then feed in other information from, say, other teams in the field. So whilst
but then you're still reliant on one individual making the decision. The way I would look at it would be that if you've got multiple people trying to make one decision, that is going to delay you on multiple levels, on time, on how silent you are. If you start
arguments,
yeah.
Well, I would have done it this way.
if you start like drifting apart, there's no one there to like kind of pull you back in. You're all just going to be like, right, well, we're just going to do my own. So your section turns into a skirmish group.
Yeah.
But if you've got one person keeping in command, that one person knows what the objective is, which should have asked the correct questions before setting out, has made up a plan and can keep it going on. So it doesn't technically need to have communication back to zero.
I mean, I think the core difference, because Mark's just said, would that not make the RO the TL? I think the core difference is in terms of who is leading the team, whether you've got on the ground leadership, i.e. you've got a TL that's there that's making decisions locally based on the information that they have to hand at the time to deal with the threats that they can see, versus leadership that's coming from over a radio, which is advising on what information they can, but ultimately they're not necessarily able to provide site-specific information. So, for example, the radio is not going to be able to tell you, right, I've got eyes on, someone coming over here. I need to have 3 people go and defend this doorway. The radio is going to be something along the lines of, you've got potential enemy hostiles incoming, whereas a TL in situ has the capability to go, right, I've got to defend this building. I know I've been told to defend the building. I can allocate my resources around based on what I can see in front of me, which is I've got that door open, that door shut, those windows are locked, etc. Whereas, your remote TL is not going to have that insight knowledge.
No, that's why I reckon get rid of RO. If you had to choose one of the two, having a TL, it would be your priority, in my opinion.
Yeah. It is. I agree with you. Actually, I think I was swaying more to the RO to start with on the basis of I think it's useful to have the additional information incoming and feeding back. But then you look at the number of events or whatever where the radio has failed, but the team has still been able to undertake their tasking relatively successfully, albeit maybe not as exactly to plan, but because they can make on the fly decisions.
Yeah.
And maneuver on the ground, basically. But, yeah. Okay. We've got time for one more, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Okay, so... okay. Would you rather get rid of a canteen, and it does specifically say canteen, or water bottle, versus the hydration bladder? So would you rather have a hydration bladder, or would you rather have a canteen/water bottle? I'll while you're thinking, I'll jump in on this. So I've been watching a few wild camping videos recently, where people have been ditching hydration bladders because they are good in terms of providing the hose over for like a quick connection, have a quick sip of water or whatever while you're on the move. But for the rest of the time, when you stopped, you don't want to be sitting there having to suck through a tube if you don't want to. It's just nice to just be able to drink freely from a bottle, for example. And there is a product that I think is made by Source, actually, which is a bottle adapter. So it connects to like the smart water bottles.
Mm-hmm.
So you can utilize a water bottle, but as a bladder effectively for a over-the-shoulder hose, a hydration hose. And I must say, I've been thinking about similar. It's an interesting concept to me. Because I think a water bottle, it does give you the capability that you can just throw a bottle of water at somebody and go, here, hydrate yourself. How do you fill it up? Bladders are always a nightmare to fill up. They are in no way as easy as if you've got a stream that's perfectly clean, for example, and you are just going to fill up some water from a stream, you can just dip your bottle of water in there. Whereas if you've got your hydration bladder, you've got to kind of open it up, you've got to hold the thing apart, you've got to make sure it kind of inflates enough that you get the water in and then get it all back up and seal it all back up. Whereas bottles are, I think, less prone to puncture as well.
Yes.
So the bladders are obviously a softer fabric. I've seen yours burst.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's probably get rid of the bladder.
See, before your very convincing argument, I would have I would have got rid of water bottles. And my reasoning for getting rid of water bottles is that they take up more room. You are losing real estate on your person. Especially
when they're empty.
Yeah, they're just
right.
Whereas a water bladder, once it's empty, it's compact, it's small, it's done. And then like you said, the filling side of it, you can get adapters now that you can put onto the hose, and you just squeeze water bottles into the hydration pouch.
Can't squeeze a pouch into a pouch though.
You can squeeze a pouch into a pouch.
Can you squeeze a pouch into a pouch?
Yeah, so the connector that goes onto it, you can put that onto the bottle. You can literally, because the two connections are exactly the same on the hose.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah. Just need like a double male connector, don't you? Just to plug into the two.
No, because they're the same connector at each end. So you just take off your suction, and then you
they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
good
you
shout.
literally so you can literally fill it up from another water bladder.
I was thinking you had two hoses.
Oh, touching tips.
I was imagining two hoses connecting, whereas what you're suggesting is one hose between two bladders.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a dirtier conversation than I had intended it to be.
So I think both of them have merits. And obviously they both have cons. I would say that for ease of use, I would still go water bladder. I'm still a water bladder fan. Because also as well, a water bottle on your side is a solid object.
Yeah.
So if you roll over, you've got to roll over your water bottle or your canteen or whatever you want to call it. It's
if you go with using a smart water bottle though, so like the thinner plastic ones, you know, you can get into a point where they've got a bit of flex.
Bladder. You can't tell me that it's not a small water bladder. You can't call it a smart water bottle when it's
you know this. You know the smart water bottles. The actual brand Smart Water, like it's just like an Evian brand type thing. That's what I mean. I don't mean one of these like super fun, fancy, like flexible bottles that compress down and then open up, etc. Because that is effectively just a bladder. Yeah, no, not one of those. I'm talking literally a Smart Water bottle.
Right. But then it's still a lump.
It is, yeah.
Whereas a water bladder, I know for a fact I can roll around, especially when it's in my pack. I know for a fact that I can roll around and not worry about popping that. It's only when your missus puts it in with a cutlery for some reason and it gets stabbed with your barbecue fork. Because the Source ones are really thick and they've got thicker as well. So my old Source bladder compared to my new Source bladder is a lot thinner. Like my new one is a lot thicker than my old one.
Interesting. Maybe they've developed.
Yeah. Like
on the fact that you pierced yours.
Yeah, my old one must be probably 2 mil thick plastic.
Yeah.
Whereas the one that I got with Agilite it's thick. It's got to be 4 to 5 mil thick plastic on the front edge.
I'm going to get this episode is not sponsored by Agilite as default soundbite.
Oh,
just going to bring it up going forward.
It should be Agilite. If you ever listen to us rabbling on for no reason, just saying.
Yeah.
But that's
Mark says, yeah,
it's not
Mark says from a wild
bag.
No, Mark says from a wild camping perspective, get rid of the bladder, but from a game event perspective, get rid of the bottle. So there we go. Right, a little bit of news just before we go. So I didn't want to necessarily bring it up at the beginning of the evening because I didn't want to kind of set the. Well, it's not really. I don't really want to make a song and dance out of it because it's not a positive thing. But for those that knew, Sean Glass used to be a regular attendee to the show in the audience. He unfortunately passed away relatively recently. He was from the Misfits team. So if you knew Sean, it was a little bit of a surprise to us. We hadn't realised that it had happened. But yeah, Sean has unfortunately passed. So big shout out to Sean's family and everything like that, and those that loved and knew Sean, because obviously he was a very well known and very well liked person. So yeah, it's definitely a loss on that front. So
yes, our condolences to everyone.
Yeah. Right, joining the show. We're talking about the show next week. We'll be back at Wednesday, 8 o'clock, as per usual. You will not be here.
I booked it off in advance, so
you did.
The other two better sort it out.
I think we're doing a Q&A next week. So if you want to get some questions in, we're trying to make the Q&As a little bit more actual Q&As rather than just random stuff that pops up. So please feel free to, if there is a good question that you've been pondering, or even something that might make us think, or maybe you've even got some questions about, look, do I buy this? Do I buy that? Sort of following off tonight's episode, similar sort of vein, then please feel free to get in touch. You can contact us on our email of nofochat@hotmail.com. Our Instagram is @November_Foxtrot_NoFo, and the website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk, where you can contact us on there as well. We have a good question next week if anyone wants to ponder it in advance, which is in relation to how much this Would You Rather has been a rather entertaining. Oh, thanks, Mark.
Oh, good.
It was properly plucked out of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I quite like it. It's like
it was quite good. Maybe we'll
friendly
keep this as
I really like
it. As a regular thing going forward. But one of the questions that we've had come in as a Q&A we found on Reddit, which was building a airsoft loadout. It's like a skirmish loadout for less than £200. I think they use dollars, but we'll call it pounds for the sake of ease. So we're going to be talking about that. But yeah, if you have some questions, get in touch. And
yes, it's very difficult to do a Q&A with no Qs. So,
all A's.
Yeah, it's all A's. All we can do is just waffle on. So we would like more participation from yourselves.
Yeah,
if you don't mind. But
I mean, we can come up with some good questions, but ultimately, the better questions that come in are from yourselves. So
yeah, because we're here to answer your questions, not something that ChatGPT has thought up.
Lance should be here next week. You're not, Andy, are you? Mate, Ash might be on. So it would be good to try and come up with some questions that might throw the cat amongst the pigeons. So that Andy and my defence and versus offence queries or something like that, maybe. Is it Recce or is it Recon? Who knows?
Yeah. What would you rather get rid of, Recce or Recon?
Yeah. Right, on that note, in terms of closing words,
you can have them because you haven't had them for a little while.
That's right. I think learn to adapt very quickly and on the turn of a pin, because ultimately you see games and players and things like that something pops up, they don't know how to react to it. There's no immediate thought or kind of plan or whatever, and then things fall apart. So learn to adapt. It's handy. Things aren't always going to go to plan. On that note, have an absolutely cracking week. I think we'll roll out, Andy, outro 2 or outro 3 this week.
Oh, let's go 3.
Cool.
By the way,
right,
I wasn't here last week. I just want to say a massive shout out to David for that. It was like he's done a proper good job, and I was proper gutted that I couldn't watch it.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, you saw the intro on this one, and we'll see the outro on this one as well. So, have an absolute cracking week. We'll see you Wednesday, 8 o'clock next week. Say goodbye, Andy.
Bye, Andy. Say goodbye, Mike.
Later. Goodbye, Mike. Have a good one.
Stay
Ciao.
there,
Wait, did you say 2 or 3? Sorry, 3.
3. Go for 3.
I wasn't listening. Cool.
Cheers,
see you later.